Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Second and Nine podcast. Today is October 11th, a Friday at 6:07. We're back to talk a little bit about Week 5, and then also the game that we saw last night, where the Patriots beat the Giants 35-14. Score may not completely represent like what happened during the game and how well I think the Giants fought, at least defensively. But before we dive into that, let's dive into last week's games. Tony, anything in particular from last week's games that stood out to you?
Ah,
I know that there was a big Packer Cowboy game that went on.
yeah, I was gonna say we might as well get right into the hardest subject for me. Probably one of the most frustrating, most infuriating games I've ever really watched as a Cowboy fan. And like all the talk around Dallas right now too is how bad actually the defense was, and Aaron Jones just ran all over us, and Aaron Rodgers barely did anything. I mean, he doesn't. They're saying Aaron Rodgers like almost like a game manager at this point on this offense. Their defense is legit. Even though we did move the ball pretty good on them, and they forced a lot of turnovers. Though they had some unlucky breaks for Dak, drop pick by Amari. Even though that ball could have been thrown a lot better, because on that play, Amari Cooper was wide open, and he probably scores if it's a better throw. And the ball was a little behind him. Amari hit Amari in the hands. Amari 100% should have caught it. Therefore it shouldn't have been a pick, but Dak still has to do a way better job of getting the ball in a better spot for Amari, so he could easily take that for a touchdown. It still is a terrible throw, relative to what it could have been. And it was kind of similar to what we were talking about with the Redskins Giants game, a couple of weeks ago. That a play like that can change the whole complexion of a game. Just getting on the board. The Cowboys didn't get on the board in the first half at all. They didn't score any points at all in the first half. So just a lot of things just didn't go quite their way. But the big problem, like I was saying, what everyone's talking about in Dallas is how bad the defense was, how the linebackers like Jalen Smith and we're used to seeing Van Der Esch just all over the field making tackles. They're getting blocked and reach blocked on the second level and getting moved around. And the D tackles have been a big problem too. He lost Antoine Woods has been out, so we've been missing him a little bit. And he's a big they call him, I guess, a trash can full of dirt, just someone in the middle who could clog it up. And we don't have anyone doing that right now. And it is kind of scary. Le'Veon Bell coming in next week. The Jets, I can see the Jets, having a lot more success, especially Darnold's back. They have a lot more to worry about in the passing game too, because Luke Falk. Right? I was telling you when you were taking the Jets plus all those points against the Pats, Luke Falk can't get the ball down the field at all. But Darnold's going to be a lot better, and the only difference is, I guess, would be the Jets' offensive line is terrible, and the Packers' offensive line is really, really good. So I guess that would be the major difference. But that was
I
probably the
mean,
biggest
yeah,
difference.
I agree. That is a main difference. But I will make note that the Jets did cover that game because of I guess a couple different circumstances that
Oh
happened.
yeah. Then at the end, oh yeah. But I'm just saying what I said to you at the time. But yeah, you're right. They did cover that game. Remember, I was saying like it was weird because it seemed like the Cowboys weren't going to cover, and they did. Who wasn't? Was it the Cowboys? It was another
Yeah,
big.
yeah. The Cowboys scored late against the Miami Dolphins. Those were
Okay, yeah,
those
it was
two
because of the
the two
snow.
big spread games. But yeah, I mean, for me, the biggest difference I think in the game was the fact that the Packers have Aaron Rodgers, and he's just a next level quarterback in comparison to Dak. And no
Yeah,
disrespect to Dak or anyone
he
else
didn't
being
do.
compared to
Aaron
Rodgers,
Rodgers
but
really didn't do anything. It was literally Aaron Jones ran all over us. It's just. Yeah, I think Aaron Jones had like 200 yards. Aaron Rodgers threw like 160.
I think that's a great sign for the Packers, at least for
No,
their
no, no
offense,
doubt.
because
And their
he
defense,
hasn't.
their
Yeah,
defense is pretty legit too.
he hasn't had a huge running game like ever. Aaron Jones had 4 touchdowns in that game, which
Yeah,
obviously you can't depend on every single week.
he hurt
But
me in
I
fantasy
think
too. Pretty good.
yeah, the fact that he's getting a lot more help from his running game, the offensive line is playing better, and he
No,
doesn't have to do as much.
no, see,
He
no rivalry.
relishes those moments though. Like he's gonna
No,
once he's one of those guys that he can turn it up a notch when they get to
yeah,
the playoffs, and when he's got the help around him. They're going to be a dangerous team, but it's interesting because he doesn't necessarily look like when you're seeing him throw touchdown passes this year. We haven't seen him look like almost, I guess, as enthusiastic as he does in the past, where he does that little Super Mario jump and fist pump
yeah.
after he throws a touchdown. Now it's like he's a little more subdued. I don't know if it's because he's not having to carry the workload and he's kind of just letting his team, I guess, play better than they used to and support him and the team overall a little bit better. But
Makes him a scary team.
they're a dangerous
Makes him
team.
a real scary team. Yeah, makes him a real dangerous team.
Yeah.
because if he's just managing the game and having to make third and sixes and convert in the red zone, he's going to be pretty successful most of the time doing that. They're a scary team. They got really good pass rushers, the Smith brothers, Preston and Zadias, right? Who got hurt? Did you watch that game where he got hurt like 47 different times in the game? He had to come off. His knee was banged up and he kept coming back. He was still killing us, and that hurt the Cowboys a lot too. Cowboys actually didn't have both their tackles after Lyle Collins got hurt during that game, sprained his MCL. We're really banged up pretty good. Like we got back. Michael got back, but we were missing him for a while. We were missing Xavier Woods. We were missing Antoine Woods. Cowboys have a lot of injuries in their team, and it's showing. It hurts. And then they have they have depth along the offensive line, but you have 2 or 3 injuries across the offensive line, and those guys are still not going to be, even if they're solid guys, solid NFL, they can be a starter. Doesn't mean they're anywhere near the guy they're replacing. Like in this case, Tyron Smith is one of the best tackles in the league.
I mean, injuries are going to happen to every team. Did you watch the Giants-Patriots game last night? You see half of their offense was either on the sideline or at home on their couch.
It looked like it.
Yeah, it did offensively. I mean, the defense played pretty well. But before we dive into that game, is there anything else that we want to touch on from last week? Because there were obviously some big games and some upsets last week, including Raiders going over to London and beating the Chicago Bears.
That was a surprise.
Very big surprise. And
I sat Josh Jacobs.
You said, oh yeah.
Everyone was saying sit Josh Jacobs. Every professional pundit was saying sit him. I mean, they did shut down Dalvin the week before. They pretty much he salvaged his day with a late touchdown, but I think they had like 50 yards for Dalvin Cook. So I didn't think he was going to get 2 touchdowns and over 100 yards.
When it comes to fantasy, I think you always got to trust your gut and your instincts.
You got to trust your studs.
Yeah, because the experts they say they're experts because they're going all by analytics. But I mean, as we've seen this year, so many games have gone ways that people are completely floored and shocked by, including this one. I mean, this one maybe not like as surprising maybe as like the Colts going into Kansas City and beating the Chiefs, which was surprising, holding the Chiefs to 13 points. Now, the Colts have a solid young like core, and especially on like their defense, but no one really expected them to go in there and do that. So it's
Casey's got some weaknesses though. Casey's not a complete team at all. Their defense is spotty. I mean, they've been without their major weapon in Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're a similar team to what they were last year. I mean, Mahomes was just playing at he was putting up touchdowns at an unreal pace.
Ungodly way.
Yeah, so it's like you can mask a lot of deficiencies on the defense, especially let's, I guess, dive in now, transition or segue into the Giants-Patriots game last night. Like the most telling stat to me from the game, and I guess what probably masked the defensive issues last year for the Chiefs was just like from the possession standpoint last night, the Patriots had over almost 2 times the amount of possession that the Giants had. And I mean, realistically, you can't last or win games on any sort of consistent basis when you're doing that, because the defense is on the field for that long and the offensive line is getting tired because the defensive line is getting tired and not getting any pressure. It's going to have a trickle down effect. And I mean, that's what happened last night and with the Giants, and that's what the Kansas City was able to mask last year. Now, if maybe Mahomes isn't putting up numbers like he was last year, I think those deficiencies might get exposed a little bit. But yeah, in terms of like the game last night, Daniel Jones, 3 interceptions. Hillman had a key fumble later in the game. The 1 touchdown was a nice pass to the outside in a tight window. Golden Tate made a nice play. But
probably shouldn't have been a touchdown though. Realistically, that corner should tackle Golden Tate on that play. Realistically.
I think he's an elusive enough player that I wasn't necessarily putting that on the defense. I think he had really good coverage on it. I want to say that on that play, he actually tipped it with his finger, like barely got it on like a fingertip on it, but it was able to get through and
it popped in the air and Golden Tate went up and got it. It kind of popped up in front of Golden Tate and he was able to catch it for a touchdown.
How do you feel though about that? About how the Giants defense played in that game? Because that was the most shocking part of the game, to me at least. And I think that's what one of the main talking points were, besides the Patriots being the Patriots.
Well, I mean, I think the Patriots seemed like they were and they seem like their game plan overall in like the season is just like they kind of want to run over people. They just want to kind of pound it at people, and like they were just throwing a ton of screen. I feel like every other play was a quick dump off a screen, and that's part of the reason they dominated time of possession. The other reason they kind of dominated time of possession is because Giants couldn't really, keep any drives going. Couldn't really keep the change moving. They couldn't run the ball really at all. I mean, they don't have a running back, and their offensive line is okay. So you're right. You're never going to win. You're never going to win when you lose a time of possession, that drastically. It's going to be tough, especially against the Patriots. But the Patriots defense is just so dirty. Like you were saying it earlier, the McCourty twins and Gilmore and their secondary is really, really good.
Yeah, and that like I mentioned earlier, that before we went live, the play by Stephon Gilmore was pretty nasty. It's like you can't really have any better blanket coverage as he did on that. It was like a throw outside the numbers to Slayton, where Slayton would have made a really nice catch.
It looks pretty good.
Yeah, he looks like a guy that has a nice first move and first step where he can get a little bit of separation because he's got some quickness to him. So I mean, once the Giants get healthy, they're looking like going into the season. They look like they had very little to no weapons beyond Saquon Barkley. I didn't necessarily think that because I like Ingram a lot, but now that Ingram's emerging, they got Sterling Shepard.
Well, their offense is solid. Their offense really, their defense is really the problem, but not yesterday. They looked a lot better.
Well, I mean, the offense I think still has to make a lot of strides. Daniel Jones has to obviously throw for more than 161 yards, have better than a 50% completion percentage, which last night he was 15 for 31, 1 touchdown, 3 picks. So, that's got to be better. But I can give him a little bit of pass going for the first time to New England, playing in Foxborough and playing an the only undefeated team left.
If you want to crown him, crown him.
Besides the 49.
I'll say it like you. If you want to crown him, crown him. You've been crowned him. You crowned him Danny Dimes a long time ago. So if you already crowned him, you don't have to reach back a little bit and backtrack because he went to Foxborough now.
I haven't crowned anything. I've been cautious. My words that I've been using are cautiously optimistic. I think he's showing signs that he can be good. So I haven't said they're going to win a Super Bowl in the next year or two. So.
I'm just busting your chops because you said the same thing about the Cowboys, and I mean you're talking about the whole Delaney Walker talking about the Browns week 1. You're saying about the Cowboys. You want to crown him? Crown him. Well, you've been crowned Danny Dimes a long time ago.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't come up with the nickname. So, and apparently I heard that his nickname in high school, I think, was Swag.
Swag.
Which is kind of funny because he does look a lot like Eli, and that looks like the opposite of Swag.
Yeah, but maybe it was when they call like a really big guy tiny. Maybe it's like one of those things.
No, they said that he's just like super like laid back and chill. That's why I guess he got coined that nickname. Plus, I guess when you're in high school and you're like a quarterback that's going to go play D1, that's probably one that's going to stick.
I guess, yeah.
But yeah, let's preview some of the games from week 6. So obviously, the Patriots are already the first winners of the week. But
your own one. Did you ever get to get that spreadsheet together so we can see am I in the lead? Are you in the lead? What's going on here?
I have to do that I promise for the next one. Yeah, the problem is I think I'm going to have to go back and watch some of the podcasts because I wrote down our picks on a piece of paper, but I didn't, I can't find it. I can't find one of them. So I can't tally them all up just yet, but for the I forget which week it was. I'm going to have to go back and actually watch the end of the video, when we made the picks, and then I'll tally it up. But I have the spreadsheet ready. So stay tuned for next week. I'm going to give a promise to everyone out there, the hundreds of thousands of viewers that we have, that we're going to have the spreadsheet ready and the counts ready for next week. And it's going to be interesting because we've picked a bunch of games opposite each other, which we're doing the same thing again this week with a couple of the games. So let's get into one of the games. I think one of the games of the week is going to be the team that I was picking at the beginning of the season to get to the Super Bowl on the NFC side, the LA Rams, playing at home in the Coliseum against the only undefeated team besides the Patriots, the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, wow.
What are you looking at for this game? I know you don't really think Garoppolo's that good yet, but respect where it's due.
I never said that, but I mean, you were trying to earlier. The reason you're even saying that is because 5 minutes before we started, we were talking about Garoppolo. I mean, he didn't do much at all this past week, but I don't crap on Garoppolo. He's a good player. I just like hold on, but I actually took that game out, so I'm actually not on that game anymore. I took off because I was looking at my list, I didn't see it there. But I think Jared Goff at home.
You
plays
got scared of Garoppolo. I think that's what it was.
No, actually, we had a couple that were the same. I just I had picked 5, and I had already gotten mine correct yesterday. Yesterday's game. Did you get that one right?
No, yeah. So full disclosure for everybody, I took the Giants plus 16.5 last night. Tony took the Patriots minus 16.5. So
that was a bad beat, though.
Yeah, it kind of fell apart. It fell apart at the end of the game because they were in it the whole game and they just couldn't muster anything offensively. I mean, they both scored defensive touchdowns, which was kind of shocking.
Patriots D is carrying me in 2 different leagues. It helps so much having them. Oh my goodness. I changed my team name to Patriots D in one league.
I honestly don't blame you because they're. I mean, they've been playing so consistently. I think though that I was saying it to you about the Cowboys after like weeks 1 through 3. After week 3, everyone was on the Cowboy bandwagon. They're a team that can go to the Super Bowl. Patriots also have to start playing better teams, and I don't want to crown their defense as the number 1 defense, as they said 10 times last night during the broadcast. They have a solid defense. They're the best coach team in the league, but I'm not ready to crown them as the number 1 defense in the NFL because there's a lot of other teams that have guys like the Bears have the Khalil Mack that when those teams, the defenses are rolling, I think they can be more dominant. So, I mean, it's obviously going to go down to how everyone's playing going into the playoffs, and we'll see what happens. But I don't necessarily think the Patriots are the number 1 defense in the NFL.
They're the number 1 fantasy defense, and they also have just a super easy schedule just pretty much all year long, which obviously helps a lot.
Yeah,
but I guess I would take the Rams in this game, and I don't love. I'm not. It's not gonna be one of my picks, but I would take them definitely. I think they're definitely gonna win. It's tough with the spread because I can see them win by a field goal too. I mean, those 3.5 spreads are always a killer. I hate those. You almost never want to pick against.
Yeah, and that's almost one of the things that baited me into it because 49ers, since they've gotten Garoppolo,
they look good. They can run the ball.
Play a lot of games when he's either not playing that well or the 49ers just as a team are kind of up and down during the game. They always seem to take or keep it close. So this is actually one of my picks for the week. I'm taking the 49ers plus 3.5 at LA Rams.
Their defense is pretty good.
The Rams have been very inconsistent for my liking, at least so far. I'm not going to back off my pick for them to go to the Super Bowl because I think they have the talent. They have talent as good as anybody in the league. But I think the way that the 49ers are rolling right now, I'll take the 3.5 points. I think that they can win this game outright potentially.
They gave up 50 something points,
55, I think, to the 55.
Bucks. Yeah, that was crazy. Their defense is definitely not that good, but Jared Goff is a lot better at home. That's why I would roll with them.
Yeah, I mean, I can't dispute it. I'm going against my
What do you think? What do you think about your league, your commission? I picked up Darrell Henderson. Kind of interested. I have him in my starting lineup as of this moment, but he's not going to get the start. But I just want to throw him in there. I liked him a lot coming out of college, so I was really high on him. I thought he was going to pretty much have that Malcolm Brown role in this offense, and turns out Malcolm Brown is a thing. And but now Gurley is not playing, right? Is he officially not playing?
I haven't seen an update on a Gurley, but
I think the last time I saw was doubtful. I think this last time I saw, so it looks like he's probably not going to play. So
yeah, I mean that situation's kind of weird. I don't understand what's going on. I think we talked about it previously. The Gurley situation, even when he's healthy, he's not used like a workhorse back anymore. Which I mean, for talent level, it doesn't make any sense. But it all depends. I think if one of these guys can go in there, if Henderson can go in there and make a big impact and show that he's a legitimate running back and can bite into Gurley's I guess amount.
I don't think he would take Gurley's role, but I'm thinking I can see him taking some of them.
But yeah, I guess
making it a little bit of a quagmire.
Yeah, he could take. I think he could take some of his touches away if he does perform well in these weeks because it just seems like McVay has something against Gurley. There had to be something that happened somewhere along the way where Gurley went into McVay's office and was complaining about something. And this is just pure speculation on my end, so I have no validity to what I'm saying in terms of that. But there had to be something that went on because
100%. I'm clipping that right there.
Yeah, right.
No validity to what I'm saying.
Yeah, that'll be the most regrettable thing I think I said in this.
I'm just going to clip that right there. And every time you say something, I'm just going to play it. No validity to what I'm saying.
Oh, that. I thought you meant like the point about Gurley. That's fair enough. You can use that. I'm fine. Yeah, so I think that's like one of the games of the week. There's The Monday night game is an interesting one too because Detroit's going to Green Bay. Green Bay coming off the good performance against Dallas, but
Detroit's interesting. Jesus, what is?
They're a bunch of fighters. I
team.
mean, they've got Patricia, who's from the Belichick coaching tree, coaching them pretty well. They didn't look great last year, but I mean, they're playing, I think, more consistent ball on offense and defense as a whole. And
I haven't seen them a lot, but I haven't watched a lot of their games all the way through. Just watching through highlights and stuff. Their games are always insane, though. Every time you see the highlights of the games, just back and forth. Even getting updates from their game, just back and forth. It's crazy. I actually could see them winning that game too. Division game going to Lambeau. Even though I'm pretty sure there's some ridiculous stats of Packers beating the Lions at Lambeau.
Yeah, I saw the stat the other day. I don't remember what the record was, but basically Rodgers owns Stafford right now. I think his win percentage is over 2/3, 66% or something like that. So it's I think one to make note of and watch, just because it's one of those division games. Sometimes it can go.
Yeah, it could go either way.
That's why those are the games that I usually stay away from picks wise or betting wise. I don't like to mess with the division games. But I mean, we got another NFC North team in the Vikings who looked good last week against the Giants. I was there to watch that debacle on offense from the Giants, but I mean the Vikings defense was absolutely suffocating, and that's one of the reasons why I think it was 2 years ago I picked the Vikings to go to the Super Bowl, and I mean they fell short losing to the Eagles, but they have pieces on defense. They got a defensive coach coaching them, and they
got good players.
Yeah, they have. I mean, and even offensively.
They have Kirk Cousins.
Guys like Thielen coming out and complaining about getting targets and get the ball thrown to him downfield. They're just playing too conservative. And look, he goes off. He gets I think I had about 130 yards, 2 touchdowns against the Giants. And now he's going against a soft Eagles defense.
Their secondary is decimated with injuries. It's bad.
They're decimated with injuries. And I think this is a game where Kirk Cousins can actually can ball out a little bit.
Yeah. I took them as one of my games, -3.5 against Philly. I heard a stat that
that's actually one of my picks too.
Oh, really? 2 different. I was listening to the Cowboys radio, and I was listening to WFAN here, and the 2 different guys were saying that Mike Zimmer is undefeated. I think he's 11 and 12 out of 12 against the spread at home against an opponent that's not a division opponent. So he's just really good.
And that's also on top of the fact that I heard a statistic the other day too about Kirk Cousins. I don't have the statistic in front of me. I heard it on the radio, but it basically was something along the lines of Kirk Cousins just wets his pants during primetime night games, but for whatever reason, especially playing at home on a 1:00 game.
It's a 1:00 game.
He's got a really good record, and I don't think this game necessarily bodes that well for the Eagles. Although I was on the Wentz bandwagon at the beginning of the season, I still think he's going to have a really good season. Yeah. The running game's been carrying them, but I think in this game in particular, the Vikings, if they bring it defensively, I think they're going to put up some points. So I don't see why they can't cover that 3.5. So I'm with you there. I'm taking the Vikings to cover the spread.
So we're all on the Vikes. I like that. We maybe just hate the Eagles. That's why we're doing this.
Yeah, I mean, I have a pretty strong disdain for the Eagles. So
my hair is crazy right now, bro.
Well, that's because you know that we're about to talk about the Cowboy-Jets game next, and you're so nervous about Sam Darnold because you think he's so good.
Well, honestly, I was a little into
that game now.
I will because I was listening to the radio today, and I heard Evan Roberts picking that game, and he took the Jets plus 7.5, and so I was like, oh man, that is a little scary. 7.5. I guess the Cowboys just winning by just a touchdown, but we have 6.5, so it made it a lot easier.
Yeah. DraftKings Sportsbook, and right now, as of 6:30 p.m. on Friday, it's 6.5. So, I mean, I think I'm going to go where you're going and take the Cowboys and give the points because I think, Sam Darnold's going to have some sort of rust after being out all these weeks, and the Jets just haven't looked that good overall.
The league is weird, bro. Just a perfect example of yesterday's game. Who expected it to go that way? If anything, you expected the Giants' offense to carry them and put up points and try to hang in a shootout, not the Giants' defense to come up, score points for them, and Danny Dimes uncharacteristically turning the ball over.
That's very uncharacteristic of him. That's true. But like, what are you looking at the most like for this game? I guess to be either someone that's like a difference maker or just a certain aspect of the game that you think one team is going to do better than the other.
I mean, I think it's if the Jets want to have any success at all, they got to possess the ball. They can't just let the Cowboys kind of just, like we were talking about with the Giants and Patriots. You can't just let them just keep, just dinking and dumping them and Zeke churning out, 6, 7, 8 yards at a time and just picking up first downs and just, possessing the ball. And because the Cowboys will be able to chew the clock out and just beat up on them. And then even if they get field goals, they're going to just destroy. They'll just end up pulling away from the Jets if they can just continue to possess the ball. Because even if you just start forcing them to a few 3 and outs. So I think it's going to have to be Le'Veon Bell kind of carrying the load and just picking up a lot of short stuff to maybe Jamison Crowder and Dinkin dumping it out of the backfield to Bell, and just for them to keep moving the chains so they can try to possess the ball, keep this game as low scoring as possible, because the higher scoring this game is, the more the Cowboys are going to just be able to pull away, because they're going to outmatch the Jets. The Jets don't have nearly as much players, and the Jets are even more with less depth, probably have more injuries than the Cowboys do at this point. So I mean, I'm going to lean towards the Cowboys, and I think Zeke's going to have a big game. I think Cooper and Gallup are going to catch deep, some deep like 15, 20 yards, multiple 15, 20-yard completions, explosive play type completions. I think Cowboys are going to get rolling a little bit. I think Darnold's going to keep it pretty close for some of the game, but I think ultimately Cowboys will start pulling away late and win by like double digits.
Yeah, I can see the same thing happening. I agree with like the time of possession for the Jets. I think if they have any chance of winning this game, Le'Veon Bell's got to touch the ball 30 times, in my opinion. Whether that's like
come on, like 14
20,
catches,
25 carries, 5 to 10 catches. Like he's got to touch the ball a ton because he's the only, I think, real playmaker that you can depend on in this game. Not to say that
I think Crowder across the middle too. It'll be something that they can reach in, get a couple yards here and there. Just dump it.
Yeah, no, I was about to say, not that you can't depend on guys like Crowder and Robbie Anderson, but I think the situation with Darnold being out, I think that it's going to be difficult to depend on him to make those plays. And I think the easiest way for them to get him going, like at least in the passing game, is to get Le'Veon Bell involved in like the short to intermediate attack. But I'm kind of with you with where I think the game's going to go. I don't think that Dallas is like, I would be shocked if Dallas beat them by like 21, 24. I don't think they're going to be that much.
I think like 10, 12.
I think they're like a 10-point. It could be like a 10-point favorite. So 6.5 sounds pretty appealing to me. So I'm going to give the points with Dallas.
How's that feel? How's that taste? How do those words taste coming out of your mouth picking Dallas?
I mean, it's fine. And they've lost the last couple weeks, and it's against the Jets. So I don't really mind it that much, to be perfectly honest. I mean, if they lose, then, I mean, that's just gravy. I don't even mind. I'll get that pick in a heartbeat.
You'll give them the pick easy.
Give that one up, yeah.
But what you don't want –
ground to you.
Yeah, regardless, I picked the same team anyway. But it would be annoying for them to win by 6, right?
Yeah. But like as we've been saying though, that like the league is pretty unpredictable. We were talking a little bit earlier that about like who we were going to take in our picks, and I was looking at the Dolphins, and I mean, to actually say the words that I'm thinking about picking the Dolphins this week sounds pretty absurd, but they're at home against the Redskins. But honestly, it wouldn't surprise me either way if one of those teams won by like 17 and blew out the other team, because we don't really know what these teams are like going to bring to the table. We all know or expect that teams are going to be bringing at least the players that are on the field are going to be bringing their A games and not quote unquote try and tank. But I mean, they're dubbing this game the Tank Bowl, and the Dolphins are getting 3.5 points at home. I'm not taking this game, but I was tempted to take Miami because I think the Redskins, just as an organization and as a team with firing Jay Gruden, they're just a dumpster fire right now. The Dolphins are at least like trying to rebuild and like have a plan for the future. I can see the Dolphins winning this game at home, but I don't know exactly how the coaching staffs are really going to approach this game, and I have no confidence in either of them. So I'm not going to pick this game at all.
Yeah, but, I honestly can't see. I can't see the Dolphins winning by double digits. I can see them winning the game and maybe even covering, like winning by losing because they're getting 3 points. I can see them losing by field goal or like winning a game like maybe like
3.5
by 3. Yeah. But I cannot see them winning. I can see the Redskins, beating up on them. Redskins have a lot better defense than they do. I feel like the Redskins have, I don't know, just firing a coach is gonna just bring so much more. And the Dolphins are just a terrible, terrible team. They're going to run all over them. AP is going to have a big day. I think I'm debating whether or not to start him. Should I start him over Cortland Sutton? What do you think about that?
I have Cortland Sutton on my other team, and I actually am forced to start him if he plays. He's on the injury report, I think.
Oh, he is. Okay, so maybe I will go AP.
I think Sutton's supposed to play. I mean, I like Sutton. I think he's actually pretty good.
He's like a top 15 receiver at this point.
Yeah, he's doing pretty well so far. He had a nice touchdown. What was it, last week? I think he had 90-something yards. So he's looked pretty good. But
I was wondering what to do there, so we'll see.
What are one of these other games? I'm gonna do a little screen share real quick at everybody and get your feedback so you can see everything. So what are you looking at in terms of like one of these other games that stand out to you? I mean, to me, the other game would be, and we touched on a little bit before we went live, is the Seahawks going to Cleveland. And I was saying that I thought that this may be a trap game. And I believe this is a 1-point spread.
1-point spread, yeah.
Cleveland's an underdog, actually, at home against Seattle. So how do you feel about this game? They've been talking about Russell Wilson on some of these fantasy shows on ESPN and just saying, like, how they think he's going to be a top 5 quarterback for the rest of the year. I mean, I don't think their schedule is that bad in terms of defenses that they're playing, but he's playing at a pretty high level right now. So it's tough to think that they would lose against Cleveland, but this just to me smells like such a trap game because Cleveland, they have enough talent to be able to bounce back, and you think that Baker Mayfield is going to have some sort of resiliency from handling all this adversity, with him talking trash with Nick Bosa last week, planting the flag and swinging it around and stuff. It was I was obviously calling him out, and it's not going to. I think Baker's that guy that definitely has always had a chip on his shoulder, and I think that'll give him some motivation for this week. So this is another game I didn't want to touch.
Yeah, true.
It seems like it could be a big trap game.
That's actually I didn't think about that from that perspective. That Baker's big ego was going to make him want to snap back, and I kind of agree with that. But I also just don't love taking a team like Seattle going across the country. I just don't. It's not crazy about just doing it in general. And you're right. I'm not crazy about picking the game at all. I can see it going either way, but I really do like Seattle as a team overall. I think they're really a contender overall to win, to go deep and to do damage in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Carson running the way he is, DK Metcalf starting to emerge. I said a few weeks ago, DK, I think he's got a chance at 1,000 yards. I think he's actually going to do it.
DK's in the perfect situation. He's a good receiver. I'm not saying he's terrible. He's a freak athlete, but he's got the perfect.
And I mean, we talked about him going into the season. I wasn't really high on him, to be honest with you. I thought he was kind of one-dimensional, but I mean, he's shown that, for one, Russell Wilson trusts him, and then he can go up and get the ball, and he's got straight line speed, so he can.
Yeah, he does.
He can run. He's
got the perfect quarterback. He's got the perfect quarterback for his style of play. So
yeah.
But I would never touch that game. I wouldn't mess around with it.
Yeah, that's not one I want to touch either. So we got a couple other good games here that we'll touch on. The one that we actually both picked was Steelers at LA Chargers, and it's a 6.5 point spread. Steelers have their third string quarterback playing. What are you looking at for this game? I think this is another trap game too for the Chargers.
I mean, the Chargers, I think you said it too, they got to bounce back, right, after where they played last week. I mean, you would think. And, I mean, you're going to play a third-string quarterback. And the kid played good. He looked decent. I mean, I'm not even going to take anything away from him, but I just think he's going to go on the road. It's going to be like another one of those, long flight games, and you're going on the road as a young quarterback. And Chargers defense is not bad, even though they're pretty much a dumpster fire at this point too. But I think you mentioned earlier when we were not on that they're going to just start feeding Melvin at some point, and I think that might start happening this week. Melvin's going to have a nice big game. Eckler too. Eckler had 14 catches, 15 catches last week, something like that. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, they use him a ton. It's kind of surprising because he's not a big back. He's just going to take a lot. I mean, that punishment will take a toll after a while. But I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, I think even though I'm not taking the Chargers in this game because I don't like the spread, but I'm actually – one of my picks is the Steelers plus 6.5. I think that they are going to start to use Melvin a lot more, and he'll eventually, maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks from now, he'll be, I think, a full-blown workhorse. He's not going to – I don't think –
Honestly, I don't think he'll ever be. Yeah, I think Eckler is always going to be involved. He's
yeah. I think Eckler's too good to not be involved, but Melvin's too good to not get close to at least 20 carries a game. And I mean, that's just my perspective on him. I think he's a top talent in terms of like the running back position in the league. He could easily be, or could be considered like a top 5 guy. he's had the injury problems in his career, but he's one of those guys. Once he gets going, he can not only break tackles, be elusive, but he also can take any carry to the house.
Yeah, he's good. I love him.
That,
I've had him year in and year out in fantasy. He always gets hurt down the stretch, though. Maybe this year he
that's
won't.
The thing. You can't necessarily trust him.
He took he took early season off. Maybe this year he'll get through the at least the fantasy playoffs. Hopefully he'll get through.
Yeah,
the one year I don't have him. Yeah. The 1 year I don't have him.
But what was your was this your last pick?
Yeah, I did take the Chargers minus 6.5. I think they won by more than a touchdown in this game.
All right, so yeah, we're gonna go.
The defense is pretty good though too. That rookie they got is super good. And that would have been a nice pickup for the Giants. What's his name? The linebacker.
Giants seem to do everything wrong.
The
Daniel Jones pick is. We have to see obviously how it plays out, but it looks.
He's Danny Dimes. What are you talking about? It's crowned him already. Can't go back now.
If you want to crown him, then crown him. Let's move on to like one last game. I think we've both given all of our picks for this week.
No, I actually have one more.
Go ahead.
Don't you have one more? Because I had Houston +4 against the Chiefs, and actually I was looking at too a really interesting game. Before
that was actually the game that I was going to bring up, even though I went through my games already. But yeah, go ahead, go for it.
Even though I also just kind of like the Saints are getting 1.5 points. I might even switch it to that. Because how insane is that? At Minshew Magic, the Saints, why are the Saints getting absolutely no respect?
Teddy Bridgewater, I guess they don't respect him anymore.
Yeah,
but are you allowed to change your pick like that? I don't know if that's allowed.
Well, we haven't made it yet. This is live. It's like what it doesn't lock until it locks.
I don't know. I think I got called out for doing that one time when I was thinking about changing it. You could change it. I'll give you it.
Did you write it down yet?
No, I haven't written it down.
Oh, if you haven't written it down, it's not in stone.
Okay. All right.
Did you chisel it out on a tablet? I'm gonna do the Saints. I'm gonna do the Saints +1.5 against the Jaguars.
Okay.
I'm actually gonna log into my account right now and put some money on this as well because I actually really do like this game.
Wow, really? I was hearing on the radio earlier that a lot of people like Jacksonville.
Really, Minshew Magic?
Yeah, everyone wants a little bit of that Minshew Magic.
The Saints are a really good team. Why are everyone disrespecting them? Minshew Magic is just okay.
Yeah, but as we've been saying, I think for the past however many minutes we've been doing this, it's the NFL, and we can't predict any of this stuff because
Baby Chark.
Sometimes it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, Baby Chark has been
really dirty. We talking about DK Metcalf. DJ Chark has been.
Oh yeah. DJ Chark, he's shown a lot. He looks actually really good. I have D.D. Westbrook on one of my teams, and he's kind of taken a back seat to Baby Chark, but it's well deserved because he gets open and he makes really nice catches.
Yeah, he goes open. I was not expecting him to be that good.
Yeah. All right, so I think we'll get wrapping up just about a minute or two. Looking through like the rest of these games, some of this week is just like it has a bunch of games that I don't even want to touch. We talked about the Ravens earlier. Ravens are, obviously we think that the Ravens are a better team than the Bengals, but it's a 10.5 point spread.
Yeah. They'll win for sure, but I don't see them necessarily. I could think like again, Ravens. Which Ravens team's going to show up? They can
the one that puts up 50. Or the one that puts up like 18 and wins 18-10 or something like that.
Yeah, I can see them 18-10. I can see them 56-20. I think it's good.
Like another one to me too is that stands out to me is the London game for this week. It's Carolina and Tampa, and Tampa's a 2-point underdog. So it's Tampa +2. This is a game that I have no idea. I would never touch this game to bet because Carolina's still playing the rookie quarterback Kyle Allen. With Jameis Winston, you have no idea what you're going to get week to week. Same with Mike Evans. He's been the most maddening player to have in fantasy this year because I got him on a league that we're in together. And it's like
I got him too.
He'll put up 42 points in a week, and then he'll put up a goose egg next week. So
I got him in 2 different leagues.
Yeah, that team in general is just kind of mind-boggling. You'd think that
they beat the Rams. They scored 55. They scored 55 points on the Rams.
Yeah. You can't predict this league at all. I don't even want to predict that game, but I'm thinking that one thing that I've heard was even though I have Mike Evans and you can't really bench him in fantasy, just a fantasy tip here. Supposedly his numbers against James Bradbury, the cornerback from Carolina, is historically very bad.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, he hasn't had a lot of success against Carolina, I guess, being matched up with Bradbury. So that's something to make note of. it's kind of sucks that I'm talking about this now because I had Golden Tate on my bench last night. He had 90-some yards and a touchdown, and I got Mike
He did
Evans
it
in
on
my
one play
lineup.
though. You still can't make
I know
that.
I can't make that move, but it's just frustrating to say because it'll probably happen where Mike Evans goes 3 catches for 28 yards and gets
I hope
just
not.
locked down.
I really hope not. That would hurt.
Yeah. So I
What
think
else? Was there any other games?
yeah, I mean, there's nothing else I really like. Stan, we went really through most of the games. Atlanta's at Arizona. Arizona's a 2.5-point dog.
I think it's gonna be a fun game. I think that's the kind of game that all the fantasy stars in those games are gonna do really well. It's gonna be a high scoring game, I think.
I can see that. I mean, Kyler Murray should have a pretty good game, so I'm excited
Yeah.
to that because I got him on both of my fantasy teams. But that's another game that I would never touch. Like,
No.
how can you
But I
trust?
think it's gonna be a fun game. Atlanta's bad. I don't understand what's wrong with them. And they beat Philadelphia, which is the NFL is so weird. I was telling my brother-in-law because I was doing these picks with it, like pick every game just without the spread, and I've been doing pretty bad. And I told him I like to think of it as I'm not wrong. I like to think of it as the NFL is wrong. That's how I like to think of the the picks being wrong.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty easy way to resolve your all your errors, but yeah, I don't think it really works like that. At least for the second and 9 pick segment, I don't think it works like that. We're going straight up with spreads, and we'll have an update next week on where we're both at.
Yeah, I mean I got to be ahead, right? I got to be ahead.
Percentages. I don't know. I'm honestly really interested in seeing. I don't think I've picked that horribly. I feel like I've probably picked close to like 500, which isn't necessarily good, but I mean, if you're betting consistently,
I was just kidding. So I'm in no way confident that I'm in the lead. I honestly don't know though. I think we've both been pretty bad actually. If you really once you tally it up, I think we're gonna have very close to 50%, like you said.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. But they say anywhere from 60 to 65% is actually really good if you have that kind of record in betting. Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, especially in the NFL, it's so I always think that the NFL is like the easiest or most appealing, easiest, I guess, and most appealing sport to bet. I guess with the point system of the sport and just the spreads and how everything works, it's I guess the easiest to figure out. Some of the other sports like baseball and I mean hockey's not that bad, but even like soccer, like those sports would seem like impossible to make picks because Vegas is so unbelievable with how good they are at picking these spreads and like the over unders and everything. They're so accurate with it, with the analytics that they have, that it's
yeah, I agree.
It makes it really tough, especially later in the season because they get familiarized with how good each team really is after 5-6 weeks during like in the season. Later in the season, the spreads are even tougher to bet. That's why I went a different route.
When big players go out too, it just adjusts. It makes such impact on some of the spreads. Like if you lose quarterbacks and stuff, it changes everything. And I find that I think you're right, but I also think that football will have more likely have 2 or 3 games that you're more sure of than like soccer and baseball is like insane because it's got the 1.5 spread thing. That's the only really spread that they have. It's like all the same spread. It's just they just mess with the odds. It's really I bet some baseball this year. It's not easy. It's really not easy to do. I can't do it.
Yeah, I don't touch that either. All right, we're gonna cut off now in a minute. Last thing, give me like a fantasy player that you're looking to perform really well this week.
I said earlier. I'm gonna go. So go ahead. If you want to go first.
No, go ahead. If you got.
I was gonna go with AP against your Miami Dolphins that you think are gonna cover.
Yeah, no, I like that. That's a pretty bold prediction there. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna stay on like the Kyler Murray bandwagon. I think he's gonna have a pretty good game. I think we're seeing now him start to run a lot more, which was what I wanted to see early on in the season. Now he's taking a lot more of like what the defense gives him. If he sees nothing downfield, he's not going to just stand there in the pocket or roll out and just throw the ball out of bounds, which is one thing that Daniel Jones didn't do last night that he has to, I guess, be a little bit more conscious of. I think the Patriots schemed pretty well for him to not allow him much space to really run where they're like spying him or playing a little bit of zone like in the middle of the field. But like it's important, I think, for younger quarterbacks that actually have some wheels and can run, and we know Kyler Murray can do that. Him to like take advantage of those situations when he's got like a team that they're playing that has tight and consistent coverage throughout the game. He's going to have to at some point roll out and make a play. And like when he is able to read the defenses where he sees that they're playing man and he can just take off for 30, 40 yards. I mean, that's a big game changer, especially in fantasy. So I think he's my guy this week. I'm starting him on both of my teams. I'm looking forward to it because I mean, you mentioned it before. Falcons just aren't that good. I think they were 7-9 last year. They may not look like they get to 7 wins this year. We'll see, but their defense has not played that well.
They've only beaten the Eagles. I mean, Kyler is on a bad team, and he's going to have game script in his favor every single week. He's going to be slinging it, coming from behind, and trying to. And if it's not the best case scenario for them, the best case scenario is a shootout, and that they're going to try to hang in. That's really the best. They're for the most part they're going to always be in high scoring type games, or at least high yardage type games where he's going to be throwing the ball a lot late.
Yeah, I agree. That's one of the reasons why I liked him in fantasy this year. But yeah, I like those 2 picks. Kyler Murray, you went bold with AP on another terrible team, a running back that's been around forever. It seems like who got almost
their interim coach. Their interim coach is Bill Callahan. He used to be an offensive line coach for the Cowboys. He was the offensive line coach for the Redskins before he got now promoted. And I'm sure he's going to want to get behind that offensive line and pound the rock with AP. So I could see AP having a nice game. 20 carries at least. Even if he doesn't have 150, 160 yards, I can see him getting like 70, 80 yards and like a touchdown or two. And like it's a bad Miami team. It's probably going to be a fairly high scoring game. So I can see AP getting at least 15, 16 fantasy points for someone who just picked up off the waiver wire.
Yeah, I like that one, especially that's a bolder pick because he's definitely a quote unquote
available
this week.
Or he was, because he was a pickup this week.
Yeah. All right, I think we're going to wrap up now. Thanks for tuning in again to the Second and 9 podcast. We'll be back again next week to recap Week 6 and look forward to Week 7. Click the like button. If you want to get notifications, click the bell. We'll talk to you guys next time. Peace.
Later, man.